Well, this is, as the Rebbe would often say, that we should get intoxicated on Yaina Shel Torah, the wine of Torah, Pnimius Torah, which is what we're doing right now. Okay, so you see in the red, the Maim is explaining Yom Hazeh and Yom Ahu, Laila Hazeh and Laila Ahu, all in order to explain what the greatness that Balilah Hahu, that night, Nodad Ashnas HaMelech, the king's sleep was disturbed. That's when the halacha says, brought down in the Sefer Maril. That's when the reader raises his voice, because that is Toikvei Shalnes. This is the really thrust of the miracle. And the question is, it's really a detail in the story that's not even relevant to the entire story, it would appear. It's just the part there where Haman ends up parading Mordechai. Just on the contrary, the opposite. That's what sets him into a rage, determined to destroy the Jews. The king's sleep disturbed and the subsequent events. That should be Teikvishoness, and there were many other questions as well. So we're not going to repeat the Shilas. Now we're well into the very deep explanation of what Balilah Hu means. So we're contrasting it with Hu, with Zeh, and Laila with Yom. Thereby we'll be able to understand what Balilah Hu means. And it's been in subsequent levels. There's kind of a summary here. The deepest still to come. So let's look at the top of the page. It's going to be somewhat technical. The explanations we tried to offer during the actual shir. Now it's just the geography, as it were, the levels we're speaking of. So top of the page, right-hand column. Yom, of course, means God's revelation. Hazeh, this, you can point to something, so it means the revelation itself is experienced. I didn't put this on the page, sorry, but we could have added here for clarity. The classic example of a revelation of godliness that will be described, is described in the Pasuk as Yom Hazeh, is nothing other than Yitzias Mitzrayim. But Yom Hazeh is the term used in the Torah, and likewise Matan Torah. These are divine revelations down here in the world that are experienced and tangible. What is the shoyresh of that? What is the source? What is the divine emanation that Hayom Hazeh in its various guises expresses? We're going across the page now. So this is Giloy Oirin Sabapayel. We're talking here about the divine revelation actualized as it comes into creation, Achri Tzimtzum, post Tzimtzum. The Maimon went into much detail. The source of it is higher than post-Tzimtzum, but the source of it is a level, even pre-Tzimtzum, that is predisposed towards revelation. Now, what does that mean in simple English to our, well, who's sitting here today on Purim? Who would sit today on Purim at a Siddur Shir? Who's more likely to sit, a McGill student or a Ponyevich student, a Amir student? Both. So in simple language for both our friends, predisposed towards revelation, that means it's an expression of God's articulated desire to be known in a revealed way. That's what that means. So then it goes through the process of Tzimtzum, and when it manifests, we say, Yom Hazeh, divine revelation. Here it is, point with the finger. We've experienced it, we've seen it. Yom Hahu, so Hahu, that is third person. In Hebrew, Lashon Nister. Lashon Nister means concealed, because the subject, when we say third person, he, they, them, they're not present. They're not revealed or experienced. So this means, therefore, on the one hand, it's Yom Hahu. There'll be a revelation. Now, this in general is the way the pasuk describes La'asid Lavai. What's going to be revealed then? Not the level of divine revelation that would be called Zeh. God's articulated desire to be known. Inherent in that articulated desire is there will be something other to know him. So that's a profound compromise already from the absolute truth that there's nothing other than him. Who is deeper? That day, not this day, but that day. So it means a revelation of the etzem ahur, the essential light, as it were, that's still pre-actual revelation to others. How do we put that in simple English? The potential that God could and would decide to be known. In following the line, that's koyach hagili do'erin. I've underlined the word koyach there in contrast to the word bepeil in the previous line, because here we're going deeper within the divine. It's not the actualized, articulated, I wish to and I will be known, but here it is the potential. It's still that God could decide, will decide, does decide that he will be known, but it's still much more essential at that level. If you were there, the truth is our neshamas are there. The absolute truth that God's the only reality reigns supreme. Not illuminates, just is. In the brackets, classically, that would be lifnei tzimtzum. Lifnei tzimtzum simply means before creation exists altogether. Okay, there are levels within that, sources within that, which I just mentioned, but we get the general idea. Yes, friends, we need some feedback. Yeah. Got this.
Sounds amazing. Sounds very Purim Dick.
That sounds Purim Dick. You'll say a little l'chaim, it'll become clearer.
Exactly.
The Sham will understand. Okay, it's a nice turnout. Good to see everybody this morning. Next. The next red, we have Laila Hazeh and Laila Hahu. Gewalt, what is this? What levels are this in the divine? So first of all, in the brackets, Laila, darkness in its source above, Yoshes Choshech Sisra, as the pasuk says in Tehillim. He places his secrecy in darkness. Why do we use this metaphor of darkness? Because only God, no revelation, no other, no viewers, please. Deeper level, essential level. It's called dark, metaphorically, because we're speaking about God beyond the whole notion of otherness, fundamentally beyond otherness. With the absolute truth that God's the only reality and there can be no other. There can be no other. Unless he wills it, but that's the impossible that only God can do. But essentially, there's only Hashem, no light. Again, light means means a projection revealed to something on some level. This is beyond light. This is the essence. As we explained in the Shurim, we're not going to repeat, but etzem bilti mizgala, essence by definition, cannot be revealed as we demonstrated. So Laila, this essential level, there's two states. Laila hazeh and Laila hahu. So what would that be? If we're saying Laila hazeh, this, well, there is some acknowledgement. We said, as you see in the first line in brackets after the words hazeh, there is some element of revelation. If you're saying this, that means something else on some level is saying this. It's expressed. So it's a combination here. What does this mean? Laila hazeh. On the one hand, we're talking about, they're contradictory terms. On the one hand, Laila is choshech, essence beyond revelation. And then we say zeh, which implies some kind of revelation. So what is that? Answer. This is koyach, we'll say the words, friends. Koyach hahelem sheshayich legilui. So this is already an articulated expression of God. The potential is here. So it's concealment, but already there we can discern the potential for revelation. To use a very poor metaphor, there's the whisper, not an articulated desire to be known, but a whisper. A potential. It's present even in the Hello. Now, in the Mind is explained, in the brackets that follows that, Tzimtzum b'shvil hagilui. There's two purposes or two levels to the Tzimtzum. Why would God contract himself? Because one day he wants to be known. Well, there's a process. And known by who? known by us in this physical world. So that's what it means. Already in the Tzimtzum, there's the whisper of, you know what this is for? I'm concealing myself in order that I shall be known by the most finite creature who will live in the world of utter concealment. So it's a Helem Sheshayach Ligilui. That's called Laila Hazeh. And that manifests in our world as a dark world, but we know that it's dark and we shall overcome it. We can, for us, it's Laila Hazeh. We point to the darkness and we say it's Golus. Man nishtana halayla hazeh, Pnimius. Is the question is all about Golus. Why is this Golus different than all of the other Golus? We recognize the darkness of this Golus and it's different from other Golus. So it's a darkness which we recognize and will overcome. Why? Because the source of it is the koyach hahelem sheshayich legilui, a concealment that says no, it's not going to stay here. This is all in order to be known. Tzimtzum b'shvil hagilui. Then there's a deeper level. Laila Hahu. That, not this. That's the helem atzmi. That's the concealment itself, not in order for revelation. What does that mean? That's a deeper level. In the brackets, he tells us it's betzimtzum atzmoi mizgala shleimish deitzinsof. It's not that God's power of containment or concealment is a means, but it's on the contrary, an expression of his perfection. He can reveal himself in infinite, infinite, yes, reveal, not reveal. The koiche legalis and legalis. He can express himself and not express himself. It's a deep expression. Laila Hahu. Let's see right now on Avodah how this translates. Laila, I said, is what? Is a kind of darkness where you know it, a kind of golus where you know it's golus and you're overcoming it. It's a means for an end. Through this concealment, we will what? We will do tshuva and we will reveal Hashem and come to a greater revelation afterwards. He said there's two inyonim in b'shvil hagilui. To access the divine pre-tzimtzum and to access the divine pre-tzimtzum, as explained in the Maimon. But we didn't jot that down. But what's Laila Hahu? So look at the star. The star tells you what does a Laila Zeh engender? It engenders an avodah of tzom, b'lachon nafshi. My soul thirsts for you because we see that it's golus and we want to overcome it. Golus is bad, it's concealment. And we strive towards revelation and union. That's Laila Hazeh. Laila Hahu is a gewaldige avodah. These bonanos, where the Jew recognizes that the concealment itself, this is you, not just a means to an end. And it expresses you in your essential self. This darkness, the I am, the very ego of this world is the expression of the ultimate I am of God. The shaydish of the chayshach is the helem ha'atzmi d'oid sof. That this is good, not it will lead to. We shall overcome. That's a much deeper avodah. That's Laila Hahu. The realization of that is going to be when Mashiach comes, which is why the Nevuah, the prophecies about Mashiach, v'hoya b'yoyim ההוא. This is somewhat clear. Somewhat, yeah? Yes, friends? Something?
Yeah.
Okay. And at the bottom, I've added what he said earlier in the Maimon. This is the Hemshech. To Tavshin Chav Hey. To Yisra in Tavshin Chav, and this is Tavshin Chav, sorry. The Basi Legani Tavshin Chav Hey. That Yoim Hazeh, which is all about revelation. Yoim Hazeh. So that is expressed in the statement of the Zohar, Oirin Sof Lamata Mata Din Tachlis. That's all talking about Gili. The Oirin Sof descends unfathomably. That's all revelation. What that means is at every level of the Eid Ein Sof's descent, there is, we can see expressions of the infinite, even in our physical world, as we demonstrated. The perpetuity of life and the infinite components of existence all point to the infinite one. So it extends the mata din tachlis. Yemahu, that's the first statement of the Zohar, that the Frierdiker Rebbe explained that Ein Sof L'mayla din Ketzer refers to concealment, within concealment, deeper and deeper, etzem, that's the Helem Ma'atzmi. So the Yemahu is rooted in the statement, was expressed in the statement, Ein Sof, actually, the Shoydish, L'mayla din Ketzer, because that's all about Helem. And Yemazeh is all about concealment. To use tired words, the two dynamics that are at play here in various degrees of subtlety are God's infinite expression or finite expression. Containment being more expressive of essence, precisely because there's no revelation within self. Let's look at the Maimer. So now let's continue. Moedidika words in the Maimer now coming, friends. And that is V'zeu Ois Zion. We're up to Ois Zion. We're up to Ois Zion. V'zehu balilah hu noded oshnas hamelech zeh malka shel olam. On that night, the king's sleep was disturbed. Sleep, of course, is cheshech, is golus. And the king is referring to malka shel olam, the Eibishter, Laila, Hahu.
I think you may be 4 lines before, B'yesh Leimer. Sorry. B'achiluk, sorry, B'achiluk, 5 lines up.
I may not have said it, but I just said it now.
Okay.
You just said it now. You just said it. That halayla hazeh is the tzamel chanafshi, the longing, because you recognize the golus, you want to overcome it, and it's not rooted in etzem. It's rooted in to begin with an articulation of a God that is already revelation, otherness. But halayla hahu is the isboneness. That's the word he uses here. The avodah is then the tzimtzum itself. He recognizes it in the cheshech itself is his misboinen. In its shoydish, that it's helem ma'atzmi. Again, not a means for an end. This is good. This is you. This moment is you. The gewaltige avodah. But the Maim is not finished. Far from it. So let's continue. The Laila hu. Very subtle now. That night, what that night means, as we just learned now, that causes the king's sleep to be disturbed. Why? So what's the source of the dark world down here? It's so dark, again, that it doesn't even, we don't even know, without avodah, you don't even know that it's dark. There's no longing here. Poshet, chayshech, kofel, and mechupel. No tzomel l'chan nafshi. He makes peace with it. Good, bad, makes peace with it. This is reality. What can you do? Ma yesh lasot. That's Laila Hahu. So the source of Laila Hahu, Shalamato, Mibchinas Laila Hahu, the Lamailo, that comes from this deep Atzmi level above, where all is, God is. Shalamailo me'ahelem da yoimahu. It's higher than the essential concealment of yoimahu, as we explained. Second line on the page. V'afilu me'ahelem da laila hazeh, and even deeper than laila hazeh. Consult the page again for what level that is. So it's tachlis ahelem. It's tachlis ahelem down here, and the shirish of it is that Tachlis Sahelim, above God, I am. No revelation, I am. So what happened? Balilah ההוא נודע לשלוש המלך. בלילה ההוא. על ידי שישראל עומדות במסירות נפש במשך כל השנה. This that Eden were in a state of Mesiras Nefesh a whole year. The Alter Rebbe says a whole year they were given the option that if they renounced their Yiddishkeit, anybody would be spared. Nobody took it. They were in a state of Mesiras Nefesh the entire year. Now he adds important words now. There's levels of Mesiras Nefesh. Sham Mesiras Nefesh Shalem Hoysa Mitzada Hester. The Mesiras Nefesh itself, the concealment itself, summoned forth that Mesiras Nefesh. There's a Mesiras Nefesh that's inspired. You see a happy outcome. You're ready to sacrifice for it. Didn't see any happy outcome. They're facing extinction, and that was the end of the story. End of the story. The Hester itself. It's explained elsewhere, it's dafke in Golos, I devote myself totally to you is greater in Golos than in the time of the Beis HaMikdash, because there it's inspired externally. Here it's not inspired externally. It comes from within and from the deepest level within. So that's what happened. Therefore, Nimshach begiloi, so they drew down, nodada, it stirred. B'chinas laila hu de l'mayla, b'layla hu de l'mata. It's as if to say, we're Jews. What it's going to be is, it's all you, and we accept it lovingly. That was their matzav. So what are their mamshech? Their mamshech, the laila hu de l'mayla. In the Laila Hu de Lamata, this terrible darkness down here, what is their matzav? Thy will, you. So understand now the two pirushim in these words. That night the king's sleep was disturbed. Shalayla hu goyrim inyan ashina. That what, as I said before, God responds in kind. Why is God, as it were, in a state of slumber? Because Lailahu, because we're in a state of Golus. But it says, but Lailahu, that night the king's sleep is disturbed. Well, that's to bring out the greatness of the miracle. Even though you were in such a matzav of absolute Golus, hastir astir. That was the overall state. Despite that, the king's sleep is disturbed. That is like giving us the general background of the matzav. The general story of Purim is in those words. You know, in a state of Lailahu. It comes to the king's Suda. And then, nobody choked on their food. They enjoyed it. That's the general matzah. But then, shlilas, and the second piddush is that very matzah then, when things, we have to put this in context of the story, when things unfold and the whole gzeda comes in, every Jew says, okay, I'm in. That this great concealment itself and the Yid's response to it, that caused the Nodar Shnas HaMelech. This, that the matzav of Golus causes sleep, that's the way it is like down here. Our matzav of Golus down here causes sleep up there. But then when the Yid arouses, and to this deep level of Lailahu, that all is good and all is you, and there's no protest. The Mamshech the Sheidish, B'chinas Lailahu de Lamaila. You draw down the Lailahu de Lamaila in the matzav of Chayshech that the Yid is in Lamato. Hari Adrab, on the contrary, Then you cause that this level be revealed, as it was stirred down here. In other words, that God himself and the Jew himself reveals, senses, lives with, that it's all you, and therefore all is divine and all is good. So what's the nodada? The arousal, that the helo ma'atzmi above is felt, the laila hu above is felt in the laila hu lamata. The first piddush is that our terrible matzav down here lamata causes the divine sleep. And the miracle is, despite that, God awakened. The second piddush is, the deeper piddush is, that our matzav in the laila hu lamata, and despite that, no escape, no pleading, no begging for mercy. That was the matzav of the Yidden. They were told, this is the point, they're told anybody that opts out, you're exempt. Nobody chose it. What is will be what is. So that matzav, that causes the nodad Ashnas HaMelech, the essential, in other words, the I am of a Jew, was revealed down here. So it elicited God, the I am of Hashem revealed down here. And the Jew embraces that, and God embraces the Jew on this essential level. There's still yet a third and a higher level. It's coming in Ches, the end of the climactic part of the Maimon. Okay, we get a general idea. So what it means is, amongst other things, that the Jew is irrepressible. That's all. The neshama is irrepressible. No matter what the matzav. Inspired, obviously he'll respond. But he's going to respond when it's absolutely dark as well. Which reminds me, something that actually my mother-in-law said very succinctly. Everybody that just joined now for the next year will share this with you. Because I was in Potomac now, and for the mitzvah of Al Zalman, and there was a Hal Shabbos Kiddush, and I was asked to speak about from pain to purpose. That was the topic. So I shared with them that my mother, speaks about her experiences as a child in the shadows of the Holocaust. So she didn't learn Chassidus, didn't have the luxury of an Jewish education of any kind, really, because she was a child throughout the whole. Yeah. So she didn't learn from many books. So she's asked, how can you believe in God after the Holocaust? And her spontaneous answer was, how could you not? And what is her answer? What is she saying? Mom, she's saying this, to unpack it. So no God, that means their lives, their deaths mean absolutely nothing. Life is random. Not life means anything, not death means anything. There's no God, there's no purpose. You're not created. We just evolve randomly. It's all a cosmic accident. How could you say that 6 million people died? That means nothing. I think actually the Rebbe said this to the same words to Eli Wiesel. How could you not? On the contrary, when facing such awesome impossibility, the only way, it has to be God. Otherwise, it's absolutely meaningless. How dare you say that about 6 million and 2 million children? God means I don't understand at all, but their lives are sacred and their deaths are sacred and purposeful and meaningful. So I'm going to tell you, you should listen to this. I mean, only they could say this. The parents of Poland, this kid that was killed. Did you see this interview? You got to watch it. She speaks mainly and he speaks also. And I'm going to just quote her. Quote her. This is Laila Hahu. Mama should be talking about. She says, the interview is asking about your belief in God. Has it changed? It's deepened. And the word she uses is that Hirsch's death, it was horrible. What she uses, we feel the kiss of Hashem. It's the word kiss of God. I mean, I shouldn't speak for it. You go online, you'll find it easily. A recent interview, and he talks about how his whole relationship with God has been transformed to words when he davens. This is the golus itself, the light lahu itself, as it were, squeezes out. Because as we're explaining in the Maimon, that light lahu is in its source, darkness upon darkness is essence, no revelation, no otherness, or no God alone. The I am God, absolute exclusivity, nothing other than I am God. That's manifest in the I am a Jew. And what brings out the I am a Jew? It's the golus. But I'm an inspired Jew. Right? That's open miracles, bring that up. I'm a proud Jew. Telling them also, and from my own experience, I remember 67 and now, this October 7 and 67, both these events caused a seismic shift. Jews, the whole world, everywhere. The big difference is the 1967 was I'm proud to be a Jew. And that was extraordinary. And as I've told you many times, it was a moment that was lost. It was a tremendous awakening. The whole Tshuva movement began then. Okay, it's never too late. It's just the opportunity to leadership failed, Jews were do anything, put on film, invite me to your home, Shabbos, Friday night, just at Orthodox Jewry just opened up then to their fellow Jew, their neighbors. It's tremendous. Anyway, but I'm proud to be a Jew. Why? Because miracles. Stupendous miracles. October 7th is Chushich and Helem. It's ultimate concealment, worst in Purim. And what is it elicited? Across the board. I am a Yid. Much deeper than I'm proud. I am a Jew. I told you the stories of the two boys in Yaniv, two boys in the 40s. They put on tefillin, but they still go back to that every day. Put on my tefillin, I think of them. That I'm so fortunate to put on the tefillin that they wore. In case in Kibbutz Re'im, we were there. No mezuzah, no shul, no Havada, no Yom Kippur, no Rosh Hashanah, no Pesach. They put on tefillin. Richard was with us. That's how we got there, because victims of terror. He could not believe that they put on tefillin. I can't believe this happened. And not just put on tefillin. They came to the Shema. Yaniv is crying. Just turn his face away. He's crying. I'm crying. Everybody else stood there crying. The awesomeness. In his house, we put on tefillin. In his house, that's bullet riddled and bloodstains still on the wall. But they don't live there. The children moved, the families moved out. In there, he puts on tefillin. This is the Helem Atzmi. Okay.